Hello, everybody. Welcome in the first webinar in English, the webinar of setting. In this webinar, we are going to abord different points. I'm going to show you my square. So during this setup webinar, we are going to see different points. The animation of filling by profile. Some people ask us to add the possibility to rotate, to give an animation to rotate the filling by profile, for example, the roof of a pergola, to give an animation. Also, the second point, the bevel between filling by profile, for example, in a structure, in a pergola or conservatory structure, if you have vertical meshes with filling with profile, now you have the possibility to do an assembly, a bevel between those two meshes. The third point is the profile with multiple assembling actions at one hand. It's a new tool we had for the setters just to control if we have a profile with two different actions at the same extremity. After, it was the filling points and structure. You will see it's a new tool we have since the version 2.1. This possibility allows you to do it quickly as before. It's a new system for the filling points and structure. We also have the advanced search tool. It's a new possibility. I'll show you how to detect and how to search the different parts you have in a setting. It's really interesting. And at the end, we will see the compilation of settings. You know, we have a lot of videos about it, about the 2.3 version. We talk about speed and more advanced version. So the compilation of setting is a part of it. If you have any question, you can write it on the chat box. And at the end of the webinar, I'll give you all the answers you need. Also, we will send you the different documents to help you to implement those solutions into your providers. And we will also send you the provider. Like that, you will have the document and a real example to check how it's done in a real provider. The first point is the animation of fill per profile. So it's really simple to do. You will see it's 5 minutes, the maximum 10 minutes to implement it in your setting. I'm just going to show you before how it is. You see, I have a pergola. I select my filling with profile. In conception, right click and open. This is the animation of filling with profile. You see, so it's more for the commercials and for the end customer. So in the action, you will have a new parameter is transformation procedure. And in this transformation procedure, you will add a new action. It's an action of rotation with time. It's the similar action you use in the dynamic opening. It's really easy to add it. You have the start value. All the parameters are here. So how it is in a setting. In the action, I have an animation. You see, in my action, I just have to give the start time, the length, and the minimum rotation of your profile. It's really simple. After you add it in a procedure is a simple procedure. It's a transformation procedure. You had the action and you put it in your filling with profile action. Be careful with this. You have two transformation procedure in the list. It's the last one, not the first one, it's the last one. The second part we are going to see is the bevel between field per profile. So now it's possible to do it, and it's really easy to do. You see, it's a kind of document we will send you. It's really simple. In the construction model, you have a new character, a new parameter in the general. Here, you can write an expression. It's an Xlib expression. As you know, here I test, for example, if I'm on a post and the variable on the beam, VLT-FP assembly is equal to 2. So it's a local variable. You have to know you can use a general variable and also a GS stack. Here in my project, I had this possibility. So I select my beam, my mesh, sorry. I had my filling with profile. So you see here, there is no assembly. The angle is 90 degrees. And if I want to do a bevel, I just have to select my beam, for example, to go on technical and to change if I want to stop or if it's a bevel. You see, now I have a bevel between my filling with profile. It's also 10 minutes to do. You don't have any setting to prepare before. You don't have to change something. There is nothing to do. The only thing you have to prepare is here to add the expression you need to do your assembly. It's very fast to do and easy. One condition is to have a similar filling with profile in both meshes. It's really important. Cover recognize automatically if we have exactly the same filling with profile. That's the only condition. The third point we are going to see, it's the multiple assembly action at one hand. Maybe like me, sometimes you have a problem in the setting, you have two different actions at the same time, at the same moment, at the end of a profile. And it's not easy to detect. You know, your setter, when you test, it's okay. You leave your provider in production and the first project done, the problem, the assembly is not okay because, for example, the profile thrust on the second action. So what we've done, it's to add a new expression on the encoder tool. Is check duplicates in node. So if I click in it, I have a report. So we don't automatize it because each time you do a changement, Cover have to check all the profiles and to check all the assembly actions. So it will be a little bit long. Here it's really short because I have only 5 profiles, but in a complete project with, for example, a conservatory with the rafters, the gutters, all the profiles, all the accessories, and it's really long to calculate. That's why we don't automatize it. So check sometimes if you do a changement in your procedure, you check sometimes if in your project you have two actions at the same extremity. So in this example, I'll add 2 times the assembly of bevel in my profiles. When I check, I have a text format, and you see here I have the node position. 0 minus 3000, and here 2300. It's the position x epsilon z. After, we have the profile. It's the name of the profile, is ID on the database. The code is not so important for us for the moment. It's just the position. It's the first profile on the second profile on the third profile. It's not really efficient for this test. And here you have the beam ID, on the node. For example, in my Pergola, the post is the beam 0. So I know in this node, those profile on the beam 1 and 2, etc., and so on. In my project, if I select this profile in the encoder tool, I have to show the assembly actions of the profile. And you see, effectively, I have 2 times the same action in the extremity, but sometimes it's different actions. Thanks to this test, you can check if in your project you have more than one action in your extremity. Use it sometimes and you will see you will delete a lot of edge effects. We continue. The next point is the filling point and structure. Today, to implement it, you need to use the MRS point we have for the fillings and for the structure. The system, this new system, consists in to create your own setting points, and it works a little bit like the action of the first stop on the first line encountered. So the system is similar. The idea is you had all the points you want, as many points you want in the same profile or in different profiles, and Cover will recognize automatically the smallest bounding box he found to enlarge and to give the position of your filling. Today you must use Fictivio's profile. If you have a mirror, you have to change the positions, and it's really long to implement, and it's also really boring. With this solution, you will see it's really easy and fast to give your filling the good dimensions and the good position. So you will see in this document. So to do that, we have a similar tool in the construction model. So in the construction model, here you have the filling and structure point. Don't use it. We prefer to work directly in the Access database. So if I open my Access database, I have a model construction retract points. If you don't have Access, don't worry, there are free tools like MDB Viewer, allows you to open an Access database and allows you to modify the data inside. What we have in this sheet, we have the ID. The ID, don't worry, it's automatic from the Access database. You don't have to change it. After, you have the MC ID. I'll show you in the document. You have the MC ID. It's the construction model ID. If I took my Pergola, it's 1 for this example. The MC ID, the point owner. For the point owner, you don't have to change anything. It's all the time 1. It's just to cover, to recognize it's not an MRS point, but a setter point. It's your point. The object type. The object type, it's the definition if this point, the use case of this point is for the filling or for the structure, because this system works also for to give the alignment of the frames in a conservatory. It's similar. You have to use in your profile the interior or exterior definition to say it's an exterior of the frame or interior of the frame, but on your conservatory, you will not use the classic points to snap structure, but those points. It's also similar. You add as many points you want in your profiles and in as many profiles you want, and cover recognize also the good dimension for your frame and the good alignment. It works exactly as the filling. So the object type here, for example, is a definition for the filling, and here it's a definition for the structure. Point type. The point type is just to give the information about if it's a setback point, the width, and the height. It's the dimensions. And 1 and 2 is just to say if it's an inner alignment or outer alignment. If you want, you can use the same point for both, for the object type and for the point type. You just have to write 2 lines with the different parameters. Here, for example, I use the point ID. It's the ID of the point on the database, the ID 11. It's for the filling. It's the retract, the alignment. And here it's for the layer because the filling with profile, you know, in the filling with profile, you have different layers. Per default, 0 is for the simple panels, polycarbonates, glasses, and so on. And I can use it if I want for the multi-filling. It work with the multi-filling. The advantage of this solution is you know, in the multi-filling, before you have to add specific action on the beam to define the number of fillings and the different layers you have, and to define different points. It was really long and really boring to do. Thanks to this solution, you just have to implement your points and it works. Be careful with this system. From the beginning you start to use this solution, the classic points doesn't work. It's very important to know that. So before changing the system, if you have an old system and you want to implement this solution, be careful with it. Be sure you do everything before sending a new version in production. It's really important. Another point is the retract points. This system doesn't work with banded profile. So if you make a gate, for example, with banded profiles, this system doesn't work. It works with the straight beams, but not with an arc or hat. So if you have this kind of structure, you must continue to work with the classic filling point with this system. It also works with filling with profile in a multi-filling. You have to know it's a small plus of the webinar. Today, we are able to add a filling with profile in a multi-filling. So in the system, you must continue to use the classic points of cover, the MRS point. We didn't change it because the filling with profile worked with simple points. So you see, it's really important to use it because you spend less time to do your setting. In the next point, we are going to see the advanced search tool in expert mode. Why expert mode? Since the version 2.3, you have the possibility in your procedure search area to write an SQL expression. That's why it's an expert mode. So, you know, we already have tools in the setting. I have the search tool. I have the possibility to search the use of action by ID or by name, unused actions, search article by ID, to look for the use of a line or a point in a section. But it's just a short part of the possibilities we have today to check some items, some things you want to search. How it works. For example, I want to check in my document. I want to know what is the parent procedure of a procedure. Here, for example, I want to know all the procedure that call the procedure ID 940. In my example, I can just copy this SQL expression. I go in my setting. Here I don't have the same ID, but if, for example, I change with 10, I open, and here I see I have one element, and I see in my pergola, this procedure ID 11, I have my procedure ID 10. Like that, like in the search tool, classic search tool, you will have the list, the complete list of all the procedure are calling, which are calling this sub procedure. So you have a lot of possibilities with this search tool, with the SQL expression. You have also the possibility to check where is initialize a JS stack variable like push v. The percent is just to say it's a text, and I just want to test the beginning of the expression. Or the complete one, initialization of a stack variable. And here you have the constant. You see, I copy. For example, I want to test a condition, else a message, where is use a message, an action, a procedure, a command line, a loop, a command, an array, an article, and the label. So thanks to this solution, you will be able to find everywhere in your setting the different parts of a project, and to before changing something, to check where is use a procedure, where is use an action. So it's really easy to use. You just have to copy paste the expression and to change the parameters you need. So here is the reference, for example, is the ID of my procedure, and here is the constant type. You will find it. I show you again the type of the constant. The last one, we are going to see the compilation of the setting. As I said at the beginning, we talk a lot about the new tools in Cover and the acceleration of the setting. So the acceleration of the setting is in the program, but also in your setting. Today, when you do a project, Cover sends a request to the Access database, and the Access database sends the answer to Cover. Today, we know it's a little bit long for a program to ask and to receive a response from a database access. That's why we decide to externalize the data from the provider. If I show you here, you have the compiler. the compiler, inside you have the actions, the arrays, articles, condition, procedures, and here the variable trees. So now cover, don't ask directly in the Access database, but go to check the information in those folders. So be careful before using it. It's only for the final user, for the conceptors and for the commercials. It's not for the parameter setter, because if you do a changement, it will not work, because cover will ask if my action, for example, if I change an action, cover will ask here in this folder the action one. So you change in your database. That's why it will not work for the setters. How to do it? It's really simple. You just have to go in database, supplier, and optimization. If I click, I just have to wait. Following this, the size of your provider, it will take 1 or 2 minutes. And sometimes for the big database, it may be something like 1 hour and sometimes more. But when it's finished, you see, I just have to click somewhere. Here it's finished, and cover create automatically those folder in the provider. Nothing to do, you do it, you send it in production, and it's okay. The advantage of it is for the calculation. It took less time as before. Globally, we divide per 3 the time spent to calculate a project. So each time you do a changement, we know in some database, sometimes if you change a frame or you had a filling, it took 2 or 3 minutes of calculation, and it's really long to wait. Thanks to this system, we divide per 3. So for 3 minutes, you wait before, it will be only 1 minute to calculate all your project, and maybe sometimes less than one minute. So it's finished for the presentation. As I said, if you have any questions, we will see in the chat if you have any question.
Hi, Frank. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was very clear. I got one question though. Can we edit the variable trees when they're compiled?
No, it's not possible to change. You have the possibility to change it in your setting. In the classic Xlib, you change your variable tree. But if you do this changement, it will be not applied because the code is already compiled. As I explained, you have here the tree. All the variable tree are exported from the database. So if you do a changement, it will not work because cover will ask your tree, but not in the Access database, but directly in this folder. So if you want to do a changement, you have to compile another time to update the files you have in these folders.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So I see there is no other questions. Don't worry, if after the webinar you have some questions, you can send us by mail or with the different channels we have for communication. It will be a great pleasure for us to give you all the answers. I expect this webinar gives you new possibilities, and you will use it for in your setting. As I said, we will send you the different documents and also the providers. We probably do other webinars. If you have some request, something you want to see, a part of the program you want to show more, we are open about it, and just send us, say, okay, in the next webinar, I would like to see this part of the program because it's nebulous and it's a little bit complex, and I don't understand how it works, and it will be a great pleasure for us to show you how it works. Thanks for all, and see you next time for a new webinar, and have a nice day.